What's up, everybody? It's your boy MP. This is the Latin Wealth Club podcast, and behind the scenes,
AZ.
Today we have Richard. Richard is a financial advisor with Primerica. He's been doing this for a couple of years. He's actually a regional manager. With that being said, welcome, Richard.
Hey, what's up, bro? Appreciate you having me on.
So, Richard, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What do you do? How'd you get into it? Maybe a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, bro. So, essentially, I grew up in Ontario, California. I came from, lower income, Hispanic household. When I was young, I ended up joining the military when I was 17 years old. Left immediately after graduation. Decided, I wanted to go into law enforcement, right? That was like my thing. My dad kind of like shift like the way I wanted to go in terms of my career, because he was, unfortunately, he was a drug addict at the time. And so I wanted to go into like drug enforcement and all of that. So I became a intelligence analyst, and I was an intelligence analyst for the Army for 9 years. I was in the military, though. I built my first business in real estate development. I was, taking my money that I was making from, the Army and buying property outside of El Paso, Texas, right? And, pretty much became financially independent by the age of 21, which was really, really cool. But, I decided, I wanted to, get out of the military once my daughter was born as well, and, open up barbershops, because back in the day I was, a barber, and opened up a chain of barbershops. It was called On Tap Barbershop. It was actually still in business right now. And, how I ended up in finance, man, it was that right there was just like a total 180, bro. It was like for one, I didn't belong in finance. I'll be honest with you. I'm tatted up. I look like a fucking barber because I am a barber. You know what I mean? How I ended up in financial services was entirely by accident. One of my old soldiers, I was in the military, she reached out to me on Instagram and was just like, "Hey, Richard Roybal, can I compete for your business in terms of life insurance?" And, I knew her personally, so I was like, yeah, sure. And one thing about me, like, and maybe it's like a Hispanic culture thing, but, like when one person does business with you, the whole family does business with you. You know what I mean? So I was like, let me, if you could beat State Farm's price, bucket, like, why not? Let's shoot it, right? So I went down, met her in person and everything, gave her my insurance packet, had it for 8 years. And she goes, "Have you ever read your insurance policy?" I was like, "No, I don't even know what I'm reading anyways," right? And she goes, "What kind of life insurance you got?" I was like, "I don't know. I got like the good kind," right? She goes, "Well, what's the good kind?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's like I got the discount double check." I don't know if you remember or not. Aaron Rodgers used to do advertising for State Farm back then, right? And he was doing the discount double check. So I was like, "I got the discount double check." And she goes, "What does that mean?" I was like, "I don't know, dude. Like, I really don't know. Just read the policy. I don't know. I got life insurance." Well, sure enough, I had an index universal life insurance policy where you have like life insurance and savings are combined. I didn't know how it worked at the time, but in a nutshell, I had no money in my savings account. In my policy itself, it read that if I died while serving overseas, they wouldn't have paid my family a penny. And that like devastated me in that policy, because the whole purpose of me having that policy was one of my buddies died while during a field training exercise, right? And the Army, they only paid out $100,000 of a $400,000 claim. Well, that's an eyebrow raiser right there, especially because I was married at the time. So, I decided, to get an outside life insurance policy outside of the military that would take care of my family. God forbid I passed away. Well, how the policy was sold to me was not how the contract read. So, seeing how I was ripped off and everything, I decided to, get my license in financial services, get licensed in not just life insurance, but also in securities and all of that. And a year into it, I developed a passion where, I sold my barbershops, and this is all I do full time now, man.
Oh, yeah. Nice, man. That's a great story. Yeah. And first and foremost, thank you for your service, man. I mean, that's crazy. Were you in Iraq?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How long were you out there for?
I was in Iraq for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty long time. Yeah. back then, the Army, like, we used to deploy for like a year and a half at a time. So like, I was gone for quite some time. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So now that we have a little bit of background of you and everything, when you did get into the financial service, a lot of people I feel like are misinformed about life insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't understand it. So what are some basics that we should know about?
Well, basically, when it comes to life insurance, right? As far as let's just talk about finance in general. Finance in general is just it's very basic, it's very simple. It's not hard to become financially independent. It's basically, it's a lot more discipline than anything, right? When it comes to things like life insurance, on the other hand, one, we have to break away from the idea of this new thing of like the infinite bank, right? Which is what was sold to me, which is this idea that you could shelter money in life insurance and you have this like fancy product that's just basically gonna, accumulate interest free, and it's how rich people get rich and all this, right? And it's entirely wrong. The best basic understanding of life insurance is I believe in the concept of buy term insurance, invest the difference, which is I believe in life insurance for the simple fact that, God forbid, if I die, my income is immediately replaced, which is the most important thing to my family is my income, right? So I need to make sure that I have a lot of coverage, a lot of life insurance coverage, but at a fair price, right? And I need to have a term that's going to take me into my retirement age, my projected retirement age, right? At the same time, I need to have an investment component now that is separate now, that in my younger years is going to allow me to accumulate interest enough to where I can now use that money to start buying other assets, like buying property, other businesses, things like that, you see? So life insurance, in a nutshell, if we want to talk about the basics of it, it is just having 10 times your annual gross income as a bare minimum. That's it. You should have 10 times your annual gross income in a term life insurance policy. Very, very inexpensive, depending on your age, right? So we have a very, very, we have a lot of coverage for a fair price. With the amount of money that we're saving on that term life insurance policy, we're now going to open up mutual fund accounts that are completely separate and have nothing to do with the actual life insurance itself. And we're going to allow that money right there to start accumulating over time, which then allows us the opportunity to buy property and whatever else we want to achieve or to accomplish any other financial goals.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so you're telling me I'm insured with my income's insured, and then the rest is invested in mutual funds. Right. Now, you said it's a term insurance, right? When I live out that term, do I get that money, or how does that work?
Okay, so because it is a term policy, right? It's not a savings account. That's the one thing we have to look at with insurance, right? Now, there's types of insurances out there where you can get money back, like it's they call it a return on premium, right? A return on premium life insurance, though, is it's a rider basically, which means it's going to be 3 to 4 times more expensive than just a standard term policy. So what happens is, let's say you put in $15,000 total into a return on premium policy, right? And let's say for $200,000 worth of coverage, right? I'm just using a hypothetical. So at the end of, let's say, 20 years, the insurance company is going to give you back that $15,000. But remember, you paid 3 to 4 times more money for that policy, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to get $15,000 back. However, though, had you just did a standard term policy and then invested into a mutual fund account, and you actually look at the 20-year period, you would have probably had hundreds of thousands of dollars in your account versus just getting a return of $15,000. You see, so it's kind of like that concept: don't jump over dollars to pick up pennies. You see what I mean? So when it comes to the life insurance itself, never return on premium, never any of that stuff. Just pure insurance. It's like when you have auto insurance, right? Once, let's say you sell the car, your insurance is done, you don't get a refund on that, right?
Of course not.
It's just pure insurance, and that's what you're looking at. Just buy pure insurance. That's it. When it comes to life insurance, just pure insurance, and that's it. Don't pay more money than you need to on an insurance policy. Keep that money, use that money to accumulate other assets and to compound your money, and something that actually has an account number and something that's going to, has shown over hundreds of years to compound over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm guessing the mutual fund stuff you get back, that's yours to keep to buy property, like you said, to actually. Okay. Yeah. Wow. It's quite simple then.
So basically, when you're looking at the 3 accounts, right? Like, because I always like to establish for my clients 3 fundamental accounts. One of them being obviously an emergency fund. See, one of the biggest reasons, you probably know this too, investing money, right? A lot of people, when they try to start investing money, they look at their investments. They're investing money that they can't even afford to invest.
Of course.
So then they invest money into something, and because there's too many factors in the market that's going to determine whether it's going to go up or down. So if you invest something today, but you need that money in a month from now, you shouldn't have been playing with that money, you see? Because now your investments now become more of they're a bill, you see? So what I like to do first is we have to have an emergency fund put away. I don't like savings accounts because savings accounts will yield you less than 1%, and you have to pay taxes on that money, right? So what I like to do is set up a money market account, and you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses in a money market account with check writing privileges. So if you need bigger purchase, let's say $1,000 or more than that, you could write a check for it and boom, fix your tires or whatever it is that you need done in terms of emergencies, right? You have instant access to that money. But outside of that, remember, a money market account is not going to make you rich. It's not designed to make you rich. It's just there to basically keep up with inflation, and so you don't have to pay taxes on the interest of the money. That's all it's there for. But then outside of that, there's two other fundamental accounts. Number two, you should have a short-term investment account, which is for purchases in the next 3 to 7 years. Most people that I sit with, their biggest, when I ask them what are your top 3 financial goals, I would say 95% of those people are going to say, I want to purchase a home. Okay, great. You can't purchase a home with an emergency account. That's not going to happen. So we need to have an account that is separate, that is designed to purchase a home, right? So that's what that short-term mutual fund is for. It's designed for you to have money that's going to compound at a higher rate than what a money market will give you. And it will have fluctuations. It'll go up and down, but it's not going to be as frequent as let's say your retirement should be. You see, so we're looking at a 3 to 7 year period. That is money that we put into a short-term mutual fund. That's for things like building a business, buying a house, buying additional property, purchasing a vehicle, et cetera, right? And then the last fundamental account, which I like to call the wealth building account, that one is your Roth IRA, you see. And the reason why I'm a huge advocate for Roth IRAs is because that's tax-free money at retirement. So the IRS allows you to put money into this account. As of this year, it's $6,500 a year, assuming you're under 50 years old, right? So you could put $6,500 a year into that account, and you're allowing that money to compound over time. And then when you do retire, that's tax-free money for you. So you're going to live off the interest of that money tax-free. You see, and that's a big thing. And what I love about the Roth IRA, I have students right now at my high school. I teach entrepreneurship at my old high school, and I teach financial education. So I'm actually one of the founders, not the founder, but one of the founders of the Entrepreneur Financial Education course now at Chaffey High School in Ontario, California. That is an elective class now, which started off as just a club. It's now an elective. So we actually developed a curriculum. We developed a textbook, everything, right? And once my students turn 18 years old, immediately they buy a small term life insurance policy to lock in their rates right away. When they're young, they're healthy, they're locked in. It costs them literally nothing.
Dude, I'm jealous of Chaffey High School, bro. I wish San Pedro High School had that.
You can start it, bro. Literally, it just started off. I'll tell you the story on how that started, but let's go into this concept, though, right? Yeah. But immediately, once they're 18 years old, we have them open up a Roth IRA account where they're able to put $200 every single month into it. And we got to agree that $200 a month in today's time, dude, that's dinner. You know what I mean? Like, you spend that at dinner now, like nothing. Oh, yeah. $200 is nothing. So they put away $200. If they could put away $200 from the age of 18, and assuming they want to retire at 67, which is the average retirement age, is 49 years down the road, right? Compounding at, let's say, 15%. I have a Franklin Templeton account that I could show that even during the recession time, it still averaged 15.3%. And that's what the recession itself, that's it already, right? So we're looking within 10 years still average that amount, right? If they were able to just compound that over time, that'll give them about over $16.8 million in 49 years with $200. That's ridiculous. The interest of that will pay them literally $1.6 million a year. That's assuming they still wanted just to work a 9-to-5 job, and they never maxed out their IRA contributions. You see? So that's why, the younger you start, especially because this podcast right here does reach a younger demographic, right? The best thing that it comes to when it comes to investing money, the best advice that I can give somebody is time and consistency. The sooner you start, the less money you're going to have to contribute, and the more money you're going to have in the long run. Whereas someone like me who's starting in my 30s, not starting in my 30s, but who, let's just assume I was starting in my 30s, right? I have to put in more than double the amount that you have to put in, right? And I end up with probably half of what you'll end up with in the long run. Because the one thing that people have that are young, that are starting off their financial career right now, the one thing that you have when you're young is you have time. The older you get, that time window starts shortening. And if you look at the course of compound interest over the course of the long run, those years, they add up. And if you started when you were 18, and if you calculate, if I waited 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that adds up to millions of dollars every single year in the long run. You see? So you don't want to, when people ask what's the right time to start investing into my Roth IRA?
Today.
Yeah, I would say today or yesterday. Yesterday would have been the right time. You see? But the biggest concern, right, is going to be, well, what about the economy, right? The state of the economy. We're in a recession. We're in here, blah, 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 right? I understand that economies, they're unpredictable, right? And the best thing is this, right, is understanding. This is what I love about, Warren Buffett. he said this multiple times. It's not about predicting the market. It's about timing the market. You see what I mean? It's time. The longer you stay in the market, the more money you are expected to make. And he said it multiple times. I was like, hey, what's the next stock tip? And this, he goes, I don't know what's going to go up or down. I just buy. That's what he said. I just buy. That's all it is. And I just know for certain, regardless of where the economy is today, where it is tomorrow, whatever, as long as I hold, I could guarantee that what I bought today is going to be worth a lot more down the line.
So, we were speaking about Warren Buffett. Mm-hmm. So do you promote dividend stocks? He's big on dividends, and I was big on dividends. I've been doing dividend investing since I was 18. I know my boy AZ over here, he's been doing dividend investing. Yeah. That's literally the basic fundamentals of trying to be reaching financial freedom. Yeah. And a lot of things I think people don't understand. A lot of people might not know what dividend investing is, but just imagine just how you could cash flow on a property, you could cash flow on a stock. Yeah. And people don't realize that sometimes. Some people just think, I feel like a lot of people have this misconception about the stock market that it's like gambling. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm playing this stock. You're not playing a stock. Yeah. You're becoming an owner of that company. Right, and you're expecting a return when they do good and profit and stuff like that. Right, and the issue is people don't understand the power of compound interest. Right, that's something that's so important. Mm-hmm. Mainly, being the fact that it's like the seventh wonder of the world. Yeah. It's like, dude,
Albert Einstein said that. Yeah, he called it the eighth wonder of the world. He called
some shit like that, right?
Yeah, he said those that know it, earn it, and those that don't pay it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But at the same time, too, it's like, if you don't protect your money, your money's never going to protect you. Right. Right. Okay. So, speaking about the recession, we do have something that's coming up. We do see that the Fed is doing these increases and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like they kind of lowered it prematurely. Right. And they're kind of like in a bubble right now, whether to raise it again or keep going with this smaller rate. Right. For someone that might be, let's say they work a 9 to 5, mm-hmm. They have kids, they have some savings. What's the best way to prepare for, a recession or something, economic slowdown or economic collapse? Right. Well, before they prepare for an economic collapse, and you're talking about somebody that has children, married, let's say they have a family, right? Before they prepare for any economic collapse, they need to prepare for the inevitable, which is, God forbid, you die or become terminally ill. You need to prepare for that first. Before you worry about anything else, worry about what's going to happen in your own house, right? So step one of every financial home, that's the best analogy when it comes to constructing or building a financial blueprint is, let's just draw out a house, right? So if we're going to build a house, where do we start? The foundation or the ceiling? Where do we start? Foundation. There you go, foundation. You're always going to lay a concrete slab. In every financial home, you're going to have to protect your income, especially if you're a working father or mother. You need to make sure that income is protected more than anything, because regardless of if you want to buy a house in 5 years, 10 years, even if there's a recession, not a recession, there's a boom, whatever, we don't know where the economy is going to go. Nobody's that good. Even Warren Buffett, I don't even know what the hell's going to go on because there's too many factors involved. I can give a guess. I've been guessing that the real estate market's going to crash since last July. You see what I mean? I don't know. I'm just making that guesstimate based off my own research, but I don't control what the Federal Reserve does with the interest rates and everything, which could artificially inflate the market. Oh, yeah. I can't control that. I could say that the real estate market is artificially inflated right now, but I don't know for certain when that day is going to come when the market resets itself. I know it's going to happen. I could anticipate for it. But then again, what if it doesn't happen? What if I'm completely wrong? I don't know. You see? So before anything, right, I need to make sure that income is protected more than anything. How do I protect it? Term life insurance. Now, right? I want to stop you right there, right? So when you're younger, if you start younger, you're going to retire with a lot, right? And if you're starting like a little bit later, now you have kids, now you got to think about it 2 different ways. As a younger generation, you got to think of it more as retirement and having that financial freedom when you retire, right? And if you're starting young, like in a later age, what's going to happen is now you have a different mindset, right? You're not investing more for the financial freedom. You're investing more to protect your family. Is that what I'm getting from
protecting your income? Yeah. It's not so much as protecting the family, it's protecting the income. This way, God forbid, when you do that day, we're all going to die.
Of course.
I don't mean to be morbid, but it is what it is. We're all going to die.
Well, there's 2 things you can't avoid in life, taxes and death.
Well, we can avoid taxes, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, true. Loopholes.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Get the Libertarian Party in charge, and we can avoid taxes all day. You see what I mean? And so, but you're right, that we can't avoid those things. You see what I mean? And so since we know that, then I need to protect my income against the inevitable, right? Now, once my income is protected, let's talk about now, because when you think about finance, right? I said, what are your top 3 financial goals? Nobody ever says life insurance. No one ever says legal protection. No one says any of this stuff. They're always going to say stuff like emergency savings, college savings for my kids, retirement, buying a house, building a business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So when you think of things like, constructing the house, right? Okay, foundation, life insurance. That's step 1. Protect yourself against that for and everything. Now, how much protection do I need? 10 times your annual gross. Okay, so let's say you make $50,000 this year, right? You should have $500,000 in protection. And 3 years from now you make $100,000. You should have $1 million worth of protection. You see, it should evolve with your income. No different than your budget changes. You have to reevaluate your budget every single year. You need to evaluate your savings every year. It's a constant reevaluation of your finances. You have to take inventory, just like any business, right? So, okay, we lay the foundation. Now, before we furnish the home and put in TVs and kitchens and all that stuff, will we do that without a roof?
No.
No, you got to put a roof on the house, right? This comes down to your will, your living will, and your power of attorney. Now, why do we need those there? Well, because this is my money. I've worked for it, right? I need the will there to protect my family and my money from the government. Because if I don't have anything put in a will or in a trust, right, that money goes into probate, which means now the state decides after they take their share what my family gets.
You know what the government reminds me when someone dies? Of Debo from Friday.
Yeah, this is
like, that's mine.
Yeah, like
Big Uncle Sam comes knocking on your door like, nope, that's mine. Come here.
Exactly. So what bike? You see, what bike? You see, and we don't want that. We need to protect our money from the government. They say, well, what does it matter? I'm dead. It does matter because I don't even care if I have children or not. If I have money put away, I'm making sure that money goes to whoever's in my bloodline than the government's. I'd rather my money go to my bloodline than some politician's bloodline.
Of course.
You see what I mean? And that's just how I am. You see, because that money's going to go somewhere. It's going to stay with my bloodline. So I need to make sure that the will, the living will, why do we need the living will? Because, well, I don't want people making medical decisions on my behalf. God forbid I'm in a coma or something like that, right? So I need to make sure that's taken care of. Because, like, in my example, my mom, she'll keep me alive until I'm freaking 100 years old, until she's dead. You know what I mean? She'll decorate me for the holidays. I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like, just pull the plug. You see what I mean?
I agree with that, actually, bro. I don't want to be no vegetable.
Exactly, but sometimes, but it sounds jokingly, but a lot of times, and we've experienced that when someone's terminally ill or sick or things like that. Families, they separate, they argue, they fight, and they separate because everybody wants to be a chief at that point, and everybody thinks that they know what's right for that person at that time. But had that person just had a legal document that said, "This is what I want," if I'm ever in the state of in this position, well, then no one could debate it. That's why I appreciated when my grandfather got sick. Because when he got sick, he left an entire blueprint and said, "You're in charge of it. It'll put it all on me." And said, "Here's the blueprint." Even when the family was upset, they couldn't deny it. It was right there in plain English. This is what he wants. He said, "Don't put me on no damn," this was his exact words, "I don't want to be in no pain, and I don't want to be in no fucking machine." He said it just like that. He goes, "I'll die on my time, and if it's my time to die, I'm going to die. All right, fuck it. Like, there you go. We'll just pull the plug." You see what I mean? And when he died, it was over. There was no fighting. The family was still connected because at the end of the day, we just executed what he wanted. You see what I mean? Was it hard? Of course, nobody wants to see that, but we executed it, right? And then power of attorney, you need to make sure if you're married, you need to make sure that your spouse is able to opt into contracts and everything on your behalf. God forbid if you don't want her locked into contracts if you can't sign a paperwork or things like that. You see, you want to be able to move properties and assets and everything and be able to do that. God forbid you're in a coma or things like that. You see. So protections are the first things before we build the financial house. It's preparation. That's all it is. We want to prepare ourselves against death, and we got to protect ourselves against the government.
Best way to put it, man. It's like, why do you take a first aid kit on a hike? You're not expecting to get hurt, but if you get hurt, it's there.
It's there. There you go.
Now, one thing I liked about what you just spoke about the roof is that the key to building generational wealth?
Yeah, both of them, the foundation and the roof. That's it. That's really the key. Because if I cannot, let's just use my example. I'm not financially independent yet. That's why I'm constantly working still. I'm still building my business, right? If I die today, like when we leave this podcast, God forbid, I get hit by a bus walking out out of here, right?
Yeah.
I get hit by a bus. I die today. Both my kids are millionaires. You see what I mean? Like, not even had a question. Within 2 weeks, they're each going to get a check. Boom.
Oh, I know. My parents have life insurance too.
Yeah, see? And I love it. You know what I mean? Now, do I want to die? No, I don't want to die. But I need to make sure that, God forbid, if I fall short of my financial goals because of something I can't control, right? And I know this from being in the military. When it's your time, it's your time. It don't matter how it goes. I just don't want to die in the shitter. That's it. I want to have like an epic death. Like, you know what I mean? It would be a shame for me to do all those years in Iraq and die of something as stupid as like taking a shit. You know what I mean? I just give me something cool. You know what I mean? Like, let me go out with a bang. You know what I mean? Like riding a motorcycle or some shit. You know what I mean? Or like something cool. You know what I mean? Like, that would be dope.